This is the call to order for the March 28th, 2023 Conservation Commission meeting. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Chris, starting off today, we have some unanticipated business from Kevin Kirk from the East Beach Association.
Come up, Kev.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
My name's Kevin Kurd. I represent the East Beach Improvement Association. The reason for our visit today is, you may recall back in December of 2022, we had a pretty good nor'easter which pushed a lot of cobble, a lot of stone up on the beachfront, especially the south side. And in addition to that, it was on the road, and you guys remember it was somewhat impassable and had to be cleared, etc. It left a very high berm on all those properties on the south side of the beach. Now, typically, residents who have a notice of intent have the ability to grade their lot so they can inhabit it and use it. Right now, at this time, a lot of those lots are not graded well, obviously, and are going to create a hardship for most of the residents on that side of the road to be able to utilize the land. So, after our recent discussions with the town and settling our disagreements for the most part, Chris and I had a conversation in regards to the notice of intent structure and the things that are supposed to be in place for everyone, especially on that side of the beach, that side of the road. So, the reason for my visit today is to be able to get these people to be able to at least grade their lot so they can utilize it, because they'll have their permits issued by the Board of Selectmen. And with the basic pretenses, they all have to have a notice of intent in process and acquired going forward. Now, obviously, we've got a very short timeline. We've got less than a month until May 1st. And some of those residents are not going to be able, in that short amount of time, basically, like Mr. Capone's told me, not going to get a notice of intent in 60 days or less. So I'm here to basically ask if it be the board, the commission's intent to allow these people to at least utilize their property with the stipulation, if you will, that they need to have that notice of intent in place by June or July or whatever that process might be, whatever the board recommends, whatever Chris recommends. So that way, moving forward in the spirit of cooperation and trying to maintain the progress that we've made moving forward with the town, so we can have an open dialogue between all the boards of the town and basically allow the people their property right to be able to use their property to the best of their ability and try to meet all the Conservation Commission rules, EPA rules, Wetlands Act, National Heritage, etc. You know, that's why we're here, because we want to be able to achieve that goal.
Okay. Chris, do you have any?
Yeah, I gave you all the report, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Kevin. Kevin's right. They have come to an agreement through the selectmen and themselves, and they have kind of formalized an agreement. The Westport Conservation is here, as we are now been given, obviously, we've always had control of what's done on the beach, but it's been really spelled out in this agreement that the conservation is ultimately the rulers of what is done on the beach, not the selectmen. And that's kind of what I had felt along, but it's come out to be in that general way through this legal process. The East Beach Association is requesting for the Westport Conservation Commission to allow cobble to be pushed back onto the beach. The December 23rd storm caused significant storm damage to the oceanfront lots. The owners of 18 of these lots do not have active order of conditions to work on the lots. The East Beach Association is asking if the commission will allow the removal of the cobble, push toward the mean high water mark, and allow placement of trailers. The owners would file in accordance with the regulations after the fact. In my recommendation, this is a concern for all of us. We've been wanting there to be compliance on the beach, and I think this is now the commission showing in effort that everyone should be applying as needed. But in a good faith effort with the short term, I would ask that the Conservation Commission consider allowing the work under the conditions that all owners file an after the fact notice of intent and obtain an order of conditions on or before June 1st, 2023, or be subject to us withholding of their trailer permit request for the 2024 season until that permitting is completed. I think this will help us in some case be able to stagger the application so we don't have an onslaught onto one meeting. I have been contacting a few people that have and are getting extensions later tonight. But these 18 lot owners' permits are significantly old and expired many years ago. So I think this is something that all these landowners need to understand, and they need to be cognizant that there are extensions allowed. So this permit can be used for them for many years to come. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions from the table?
Well, this sounds like a sensible, like plan. So are there any, conditions that we should talk about just in terms of how the work gets done or how far down the beach?
The work should be done within 10 feet of mean high water or so.
Okay.
This is not a replenishing of the beach. This
Right,
is just to remove that cobble that disallows them to access the area.
Okay.
So-
And push it toward the ocean
So they're
front.
pushing it down towards the
Yes,
ocean.
yes.
Yeah.
Of those 18, is everyone on board to do this?
I may quickly speak. Kevin is not aware how many of these
Okay.
people are within the association.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna speak out of line. Not everyone may be.
That's, okay.
So we are sending all these people letters, whether they're part. Kevin's been gracious enough to keep people in some email loop, but I'm gonna send letters no matter what to these 18 individuals.
So are all these 18 individuals going to be using the same contractor to do the work, to move it? Or
I would say, again, Kevin can't speak to that, but there are a group of people trying to get 1 or 3 or 2 active contractors to do the work, yes.
Do we have a date of completion where it should all be done? Obviously, you don't want them doing work in June or July when someone's trying to enjoy their.
Their goal is to do this before May 1st.
Okay.
In
Okay.
order to get their trailers within that active time frame, they're allowed to get on the beach.
Okay.
And again, we fall into the natural heritage April 1st issues, but as I discussed with them and I'll discuss with you, the birds have been very inactive on East Beach, first of all, but I expressed to these landowners that it's very possible that they could and that they need to be aware of what these regulations are. So I'm trying to get these people to understand, we're not necessarily making up rules as we go, we're actually enforcing legal rules that everyone, and especially a beachfront lot owner, should be aware of.
I just didn't want it to be a free-for-all of people having, everyone hiring different contractors to come in and do the work. It'd be better if it was a basically 3-day process to do it all, a 1-day process.
If I may, just for a moment. Typically, most people are going to have that graded by May 1st,
Okay.
so they can occupy their land.
Mhm.
There might be a couple latecomers to the party, but if I had to guess, I'd say that might be 10%, 20%.
Okay.
And those will probably be done early in May.
Okay.
You know, the goal here is to satisfy, like you said, national heritage and
Mhm.
everything else, because everybody needs to be aware of the circumstances of that.
Perfect.
So it sounds like you might, in the letter that you're sending out, Chris,
Mm-hmm.
for example, mention the 10, within, not further than 10 high feet or some other
Yep.
conditions that you might So at least people put on notice that way.
Yep,
Yeah, so that would be good.
yes,
Okay,
And then you'll have the guidelines and natural heritage stuff in there as well.
yes, I'm gonna put a,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna refer to them to emails for these sites so that they can see the information they may need,
Okay,
as
okay,
well as the notice of intent application.
okay,
perfect.
great.
Any other questions?
No, the rocks are not on East Beach Road now, they've been pushed back, so this is after the fact thing, yeah.
It's created an awful high berm, in some
Yeah.
cases 2 feet better. And unless you got a 4-wheel drive truck, you're not gonna get in there
Yeah.
to utilize the land.
Yeah,
That cobble washes back and forth.
you're gonna spread them out more.
Yeah, and the way the cobbles spread across the entire lot, it's like ball bearings, they couldn't
Yeah.
even,
Yeah,
they
right.
couldn't even back onto it, it probably would be difficult, so. And again, I will specify that it's not a grade removal, we're not looking for them to push this big windrow of material.
Yeah,
This is only what is needed to get the access of, to allow the trailer to be placed safely.
Any
all
more,
right, okay, sorry.
you good? Any more questions?
No, we're good.
Do we hear a motion?
So I would move us to allow the work under the conditions that all the owners file after the fact NOI and obtain orders of conditions by June 1st, 2023, or be subject to the denial of trailer permits for the 2024 season until permitting is completed, on the condition that Chris will send a letter to each of the affected property owners as to the conditions under which they can do the spreading of the cobble.
Do we hear a second?
Second it.
That was Phil. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, all in favor. Thank you, Mr. Kirk.
Thank you very much for your cooperation. Hopefully we can satisfy everybody. and make
Thanks,
it happen.
Kevin. I'll give you a little brief email,
Okay.
and then I will forward letters to these individuals. Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks.
Thank you. Chris, do we have anything to sign on that? I don't have the folder or anything. We're good?
You're good.
Okay. All right, next topic is septic repairs. Mr. Alan Sequeira, 308 Hicksbridge Road.
Good evening, my father was environmental for Alan Segura Field at Hicksbridge. This house is located on the second floor north of this bridge. It's on the north side of the situated at the top of the ridge. We got the river right down here, we have water, we have flood zone at, today's zone at 11. We have a couple of buffer zones sitting right here in front of the house. This is top of coastal bank right here. This is the riverfront. Septic system is located here between the house and the road. The septic tank that exists is collapsed, and we haven't checked to see where the disposal unit is. We're just going to remove that tank and place a 1,500 gallon tank in its place, and then a 1,000-gallon pump chamber, and pump this thing all the way around the house to a leach field out front. I've suggested 3 times already that the plumbers have looked at it, and they say the house is finished downstairs. It's a 1-level house, but the basement's finished, the upstairs is what it is, and they said it's almost impossible to get the pipe. There's a pump in the floor, and to get it across is almost impossible. So unfortunately for the owner, he's gonna have to live with this. It's a pretty simple operation. We're gonna take and we're gonna do a little bit of filling on this corner, and it's fairly flat right in this area here. We're gonna bring the tanks in and drop the main tank here, the pump chamber here, and the pipe all the way around the house. Nothing, but I can't get through this side, it's just too narrow. The best I can do is what I got, but at least the leach field will be out of the buffer zone. And that'll help in a big way. The well is way out here, so that's not a major issue. That's pretty much it.
Chris, your report?
Mr. Chairman, Alan Sequeira, 308 Hicksbridge Road, filing here before you is a request for determination of applicability, Westport Environmental Design, with Len Carter here representing. Report date is March 17th, 2023. This is pending Board of Health approval.
Yes.
Thank you. Site visit was also on March 17th. The description of work. The applicant has filed to replace a failed sewage disposal system. The property is located on the east side of the river north of Hicksbridge Landing. The proposed work is to remove an old system in front of the home and install a septic tank and pump chamber in the buffer zone. The leaching field will be constructed 160 feet from the edge of the river in the rear of the property. The activity is exempt from the Rivers Protection Act as it is a repair to the existing system. That falls under 310 CMR 10.586 in parentheses, C in parentheses. The tanks are proposed above the coastal bank and will not cause any adverse effect to that resource area. As Lenny mentioned, given the circumstances, this is the best scenario for the property. Again, it drops off dramatically towards the front of the property, and Lenny has designed this in accordance with the difficulty here. So resource areas to be impacted is coastal bank and buffer zone. Recommendations, the Westport Conservation Commission should issue a negative box 2 and a negative box 3 determination for the sewage disposal system at 308 Hicksbridge Road.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions? Any questions from the table? Do I have a motion?
I move we issue a negative box 3, 2 and 3 determination for the sewage disposal system.
Do you have a second?
Second.
That was Bert and Kevin. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thanks. Good night, Len.
Moving on to hearings, we have a Joseph Swift. That's going to be continued till 4/11. The motion to continue?
Motion to continue to 4/11.
Second.
That's the one we got this letter from the state fisheries on.
That is to do with that project, Bert. They are doing a seawall reconstruction of a licensed structure, and they were just, obvious that is for that same application. I'll make sure you have it in the packet next meeting.
Yeah, I saw that online, this letter from
Yeah,
fisheries.
that's standard for when you apply for work below mean high water.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. We have some continuances from last hearing and continued to be continued. That would be Robert Carrig. That would be continued till 4/25. Do I have a motion?
Move to continue to 4:25.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Phil and Bert, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Well, we lost half our crowd on that one.
Yeah, I yeah.
All right.
Had I known, I would have told him to stay home.
Next one we have is Chris Simmons, Simmons Concrete, an NOI.
Good evening, my name is Joseph Simmons with Allen Major Associates. I'm here on behalf of Chris Simmons for a notice of intent at 16 United. So, just a brief overview, the pavement, the existing pavement area is to be removed and replaced in kind. The existing storage area that is currently overgrown with vegetation is going to be cleared in grubs and trash removed. There is compact gravel apron, I guess you would call it, on the south side of the building. There's a timber bridge that is existing now that wants to be removed and replaced in kind. The timber bridges is a cross section down here. So basically the steel girders that are there now will stay, new planks across it, and then a proposed timber handrail which will be secured to the steel beams. The last time that I was in front of the commission, the plan was updated to include these two clear and grub areas, just to show that my client wants to basically clean up the overgrown vegetation and try and get a better view of the river. And on the other side, it is noted that it's just going to be trash removal and cleanup as well. And my client also requested to ask for the commission's permission for, in front of these garage doors, to just have a concrete apron for stability. It's not shown on this plan right now, but I just wanted to convey that and have the request.
That's excuse me if I may, Mr. Chairman, that's a concrete apron to drive in through the garage doors.
Correct.
In
On the
making
front,
it.
is that on the front or the back?
Yeah, just, you know how you have an apron between the
Yeah.
floor and, yeah.
Yeah,
That-
just
no.
for stability.
That would be fine.
Okay.
All right.
You good?
Yeah,
All right, Chris, your report? Thank you.
I think you saw this, I sent it to you.
I did, yeah.
Thank you. Joe, right?
Correct.
Thank you. Chris Simmons Concrete, 6 Union Ave, notice of intent application for file number SE 802665. Joe Sander from Allen and Majors is here representing. Report date is March 23rd, 2023. Description of the work: the owner applicant has filed a notice of intent to redevelop a property that falls within the riverfront area. The site is the location of the historic Westport factory. The site has been in disrepair for a number of years. The applicant and representatives from Allen and Majors met at the site. The members present: Bert, Jake, Jason, Kevin, and Phil. It was discussed the full extent of what is proposed and what should be on the plan. The revised plans dated March 6, 2023 have been received, showing the extent of that activity. I kind of included it in your packets. It's the kind of the hatched areas or darkened areas, what kind of is where the work is. These revised plans, I think, met what the discussion was about. The old gravel fenced area would be cleared, the vegetation and the debris removed. We really couldn't see the box trailers within that because they're covered with vines and such, but there are a few box trailers in there that will be removed. This area will remain gravel and a new fence installed around the area. The owner has shown some additional clearing and grubbing along the tree line to the north of the existing bridge. That I don't really have a problem, but I don't think they'll still see the river with they clear and grub that in respect to what's in there, but I would ask that that be done in a manner that not remove all the vegetation. We can condition that at the end. The owner has also shown some foundations. There exists old foundation in 2 areas, which they would like to remove. I'm a little concerned with this and not necessarily in favor of this activity, as the alteration is within less than 25 feet of the river, mean high water. The foundations actually go off the property onto someone else's property. So I don't think that would be necessary to chase these foundations, seeing the site has stabilized itself in respect to this historical use that at one point sat on that foundation. So that's something I'm not necessarily looking to have approved this evening. This existing bridge will have new decking installed and handrails is also acceptable. I think they pretty much expressed that at the site visit with what that intent was. Recommendations: Westport Conservation Commission should approve the clearing and grubbing of the old parking area. I will mention a concrete apron as well. At the area north of the bridge, to stop at the limit of the tree line. So in other words, you're going to install your erosion control in that area, and I want that to be the limit of the work. No work to remove any old foundations is approved, as this work is too close to mean high water and extends off-site onto a budding parcel. The existing bridge should be decked with new timbers and handrails. That's accepted with that installed. The stormwater swale, as designed, must be installed as a measure of improving of the existing conditions. If you remember, that swale is designed within the fenced-in area to the easterly side of it, along that parallel area, and will outflow towards the southerly end of that. The erosion control should be staked in place just beyond all approved work and will be the limit of this approval. Any proposed alteration of the riverfront on the east side of the river must be permitted on a separate application, but we can allow the trash removal as requested, only. Okay?
Any questions from that, Joe?
And basically, I don't have a problem with that, but you understand, we can't govern everything, and the homeowner, the owner was honest to that, but, I am conscious of that trash, because I was asked to review it, so I would respectfully like to see it go, but, and just express to him that the limit of work should be staked in the field, and I will make that more, you know, because a lot of people get the order and they never read it, so just make sure you convey to the client, we're not giving them permission to rip the foundations,
Yeah.
and then I see them there, okay, that's all, Mr. Chairman and members.
My only change to that report, Chris, is Kevin was not there
I
because
was
his Jeep couldn't get through the snow.
Yeah.
Remember?
Tough day.
It was stuck.
I thought you did make it that day.
No, his Jeep couldn't
Snowstorm.
make it. Snowstorm.
Jeeps don't like snow.
I thought you couldn't tow the boat, you can't get in the snow either? All right, I'm
Alright.
sorry, Kevin.
Well, Joe, we appreciate all your work with this and, you know, allowing us on the site visits. It's a big project and we have to obviously be cognizant of, you know, the impacts on the river in that area. So are you okay on the, you know, restriction on the foundation stuff that's in there as well?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions from the table, Phil?
I just wanted to know if what you said, Chris, about, I don't know, the extent of grubbing, is that something that you want any more detail about in the
No,
conditions?
I was
Okay.
just gonna condition it to not full tree removal. This is
Okay.
more removal of invasives and maybe
Okay.
some underbrush,
Okay,
to allow a little more light exposure to the canopy and
Right.
maybe allowing
Okay.
some more, vegetation that may be maintainable, either lawn, grass, or something along those
Okay.
lines. And I think that would give a nice demarcated edge, so now we're gonna have in excess of 100 feet protecting in that northerly section. Then we come to the bridge, it gets narrow, and then we widen again, so most of the activity is gonna be narrower right where that old bridge crossing would be. So I think that works better with, so I will specify the clearing and grubbing should leave large tree canopy.
okay.
Yeah, I don't think we want a repeat performance of, you know, going right down to the river as some other
Yeah.
places.
Okay. So I would, I guess move to approve the revised plans dated 3/6/23 for 6 Union Avenue, subject to the conditions set out in Chris's report, also with the understanding that the grubbing would leave large trees in place.
Do you have a second?
I second it.
Was Phil and Bert all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimously. That's the last one.
All right.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
For your
Thank you.
cooperation, appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you guys, have a good night.
You too. The next continuance is continued till 4:25.
No.
No?
Yep, generous ceremony, yes it is, I'm sorry, yes sir.
I did my homework, Mr. Capone.
You did, I forgot about Jenna.
So generous ceremony is continued to 4:25. Do I have a motion to continue?
Motion to continue to 4:25.
That was Kevin. Anyone second? Second. Tom, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. No.
Whatever you need to do.
Who's everybody?
That would be, next one would be Arrow.
Arrow, Neon.
Sign
Sign
company.
Company. That's such a nice name.
Evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Mark Boucher, Boucher Associates. And I'm here this evening on behalf of my client, Arrow Neon Sign Company, Beautiful Transit. The owner is also
This site actually immediately abuts the last site that was up here. It's right on the bend, you're probably familiar with it, right on the bend of Route 6 after you pass Route 6, just to the southeast of the last project on the Beauty Ave. And my client is submitting a notice of intent to request permission to place a billboard, which again, you may recall, has been up there for decades. I believe it was first placed in the mid-50s on the property, and just within the last year or so. The supports on the existing sign gave out, and the sign started to collapse. So the old sign was removed. And what we're proposing to do is replace the old sign with a new foundation with a monopole to mount the sign in place of the older concrete, which I believe was the original focus for the old sign. I have the green cards for notification.
Thank you.
DEP butters. I also have some photos of the site, just to give you a little bit better representation if you want to pass them down. Take a look. The condition of the site right now, in place of where the old sign was, you can see there's a lot of rubble. The steel supports in the old sign, I believe, are what gave way. One of the reasons we probably recall, we originally submitted a plan with the notice of intent back in June. And it was the initial idea to utilize the existing footings until they were looked at more closely and determined to be just not in the kind of shape that it was proven to support the new sign. So then it became a question of designing a type of footing for the new sign that would be both safe, structurally safe, and hopefully less of an impact in installation for more new footing posts for it. The first iteration of design was a somewhat smaller footprint footing, but it was really not sensibly deep. They were looking at going down 12 feet. So my client had a different structural engineer take a look at it. That's the reason we had asked for several continuances until they could finally get something sorted out that they felt would be able to work on the site. And the current plan in front of you, structural plans were also submitted with more structural detail along with the application. And what's being proposed now is a stepped spread footing, 13.5 by 14 feet in footprint, with a very tight riprap slope, one-to-one slope, to minimize the overall footprint of the area to provide frost protection for the footing. Minimal excavation, what I believe they're proposing to do in order to minimize impact on the area, is to, at least we were told by the installer, that they can take a large machine from the paved area of Route 6 and actually drop a smaller machine to do the work that needs to be done in order to prep this area that we have shown in the red indicates the limit of work that we're anticipating will be necessary. That's about 700, I believe it's a total of about 725 square feet overall, including the grading within this, the hay bales. The area itself, the resource areas, obviously the entire areas within the riverfront. What we are doing is we're actually moving the sign away from the river by about, I think it's about 8 to 10 feet from where the old sign was. It's a smaller sign, and the footing varies in depth at the high end because of the steep slope, It's about 4.5 feet deep at the nose toward Route 6. It deepens to 6.5 feet, steps about halfway past where the pole is going to be for stability. And the other resource area that part of the work is located in is actually an A zone associated with the river and the flood maps. So we're asking, again, it's a billboard that has been there for a long time and about the only real use for this property. And we're asking that the commission approve the revised design plan as submitted this evening.
Thank you. Chris, do you want to read your report first?
Sure, Mr. Chairman, members, Arrow Neon Sign Company, located at 1229 State Road. This is a notice of intent application. Boucher and Associates, Mark Boucher is here this evening. Report date is March 17, 2023. File number with no adverse comments is SE 802666. Again, the site visit was on March 17, 2023. Description of the work: the applicant has obtained the structural design plans for the proposed footing for a billboard sign replacement. The current foundation is not up to code. The new monopole style will require a concrete 14 by 13.5 footing. The depth of the excavation will be 6.9 feet on one side to approximately 4 feet, 3.5 feet on the other side. The sign will attach to the bolts installed in the footing. All work can be completed from State Road. Equipment will be lifted over the guardrail and placed on the lower section to excavate and move materials for the footing. Erosion controls will be utilized as the limit of work. The finished one-to-one slope will have a riprap 12 inches thick installed around that slope. All groundwater encountered shall be pumped away from the river into an excavated sump lined with double row hay bales. This is a riverfront area and buffer zone activity and borderline flood zone. Recommendations: Westport Conservation Commission should approve this project, file number SE 802666, with conditions. All work should be completed from State Road, as is not utilizing the right-of-way that comes off of the Union property. Erosion controls to be the limit of all work for this application. And any dewatering shall be pumped away from the river into an excavated sump lined with double row hay bales. So the worst case scenario, Mark, is that nice little westerly location away from the river could be utilized beyond your limits of your erosion control if need be, okay?
Yep.
Thank you so much. That is all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Chris, the only thing I noticed in those pictures is that there tends to be a lot of larger debris or trash in there. Would that be part of the cleanup and the removal of the
I
old
guess if they
stuff?
want to pick those out, and I don't have a problem with that, making it, well, they may need to anyways
To
to
get
make
that
the area
stable.
suitable.
Yeah, the unstable rubble has to be removed in order to provide a stable base
Mhm.
for this. The structural drawings, I actually have a copy of it passed out, I believe it's in the file. The structural engineer suggested, I think, excavating the front edge to be, I think it was less than a foot up in this area, and approximately the same because of the steep slopes, so there's not going to be much excavation going on. If water becomes a problem at that depth, we certainly would pump it to a
Okay.
containing area on that side, but they are talking about cutting the old posts that you see in those pictures, the steel posts, so that they're encased
Okay.
where they're stable inside the old footing. So it's going to neaten up that area. There's a fair amount of trash.
Yeah.
You can see in the photos. So I think this will actually probably stabilize that area more than it is. We were actually a little bit concerned that the survey crew maybe get some elevations because it's a little bit, so I'm sure they're going to have to pull some of that,
Okay.
that rubble. And as I think you heard in the previous presentation, there are remains of old stone foundation not too far beyond it this way. Another reason for the placement of the sign where it is.
Yep.
Works.
Any other questions from the table?
when would you,
I'm sorry.
when would you plan to do this?
Timing.
When?
Scheduling, I
Yeah.
believe you've already dealt with the state.
I haven't ordered anything yet, so it's probably within the next 3 months.
I mean, is there any advantage to waiting until the dead of the summer when it's not a raging rapid there? Or does it ever slow down?
Well, in this case, this is regulated pretty much by Forge Pond, so
Yeah.
although it's ripping through there, it really is, it really wouldn't come into play in this case. It's not like it's gonna back up and flood. So I don't think timing would be restrictive to it, but I think for construction, I think they'd like to see the site dry out a little bit, more so than anything, before they are mucking everything up.
Normal conditions, and by normal, I mean when we haven't had a rainstorm for several days of the week, the water level in here is about 3.5 feet below the low end of the top of this retaining wall. And I was actually there today after it had rained, and we got some rain last week. And while I think that the velocity picks up there, it doesn't flood the site. And the site is still, by elevation, it's still significantly above even a heavy water flow situation through there. So I don't know that that's necessarily going to be too much of a concern with the timing on the construction. It does get extremely thick as far as the vegetation, the vines and all that.
Poison ivy.
You can kind of see, we were out there initially in August doing some of the survey. It was a challenge. Right now, you can kind of see what you're dealing with, so hopefully it'll be before things get real thick in there.
We're not gonna have one of those 195 electronic billboards there, are we?
That's not under our purview, Mr.
Who is it?
Chairman.
Who is under in town? Billboards. Was there only 2 in town, aren't they, on Route 6? Route 6?
Lamar,
Yeah, Omar owns them, right?
I mean, I think there are communities that have, billboard bylaws.
Yeah.
I think you'd
When I was
have
in
to-
Rhode Island working with DOT, you'd have to trade, when they put the electronic ones in, they had to take down 4 or 5 for each electronic sign they put up.
Mhm.
this is static billboard.
Yeah. All right, any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
So I'll move to approve the replacement of the billboard sign, subject to the conditions in Chris's report, and I guess also with rubble being removed necessary to stabilize the construction area.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
There's both Phil and Tom. All in favor?
All right,
Opposed? It's unanimous, no.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Next on the agenda, Chris, is certificate of compliance. Jan
Jan Petrazik.
Petrazik.
Yes, Jan Petrazik, 58 East Beach Road. This person is selling this property, so this is, and again, one that I will probably be notifying because it's transferring ownership, that they no longer have a permit because they're closing it out. I don't know why, but their lawyers recommend they do this. So this is a certificate of compliance for file number SE80-1994 for Jan Petrazik. Joe Harrington, I think it went under. Description of work, the owner is selling and closing out the previous order of conditions for beach nourishment. Recommendations, the Westport Conservation Commission should grant a certificate of compliance for file number SE80-1994.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions from the table?
No.
All right, any, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Ms. Tom, second?
Second.
Kevin, second. All in favor?
all right.
Opposed? It's unanimously owned. Extensions. We have Mass DCR Horseneck Beach, SC 82484.
Yes, DCR, John Reed Road, Mass Horseneck Beach Reservation. This is file number SE802484. This is actually their beach operation and beach maintenance plan. Expires in early April. So they had come before us to change language on the permit last year, but that did not change the date of the full order of conditions when you amend something. So Mass DCR has filed a requested 3-year extension to the operation of beach maintenance order of conditions. The request is for the allowance under the amended plan to maintain the beach access roads, causeway, and Gooseberry Island. Recommendations: Westport Conservation Commission should grant the 3-year extension with that revised plan for file number SE 802484.
Thanks, Chris. They actually have been doing a lot of good work down there at the state. I give them credit for right now. Hopefully they don't get a nor'easter in April and mess up all the work they've done. But they're trying. They're trying to reclaim some of that beach. Do we have a motion to grant the 3-year extension?
I move we grant the 3-year extension to project 82484.
That was Bert. Do we have a second?
Second.
Tom, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous, legal. Next extension is Deborah Robbins, SE 801081, 106 East Beach Road.
Yeah, Deborah Robbins is one that is remaining active, Mr. Chairman. This is file number SE 801081, so you know it's an older application. The owner is filed to request a 3-year extension to the existing order of conditions for 106 East Beach Road. The extension would allow beach nourishment and work on the beachfront trailer lot. Recommendation: the Westport Conservation Commission to grant a 3-year extension to file number SE 801081 for beach nourishment.
Thank you, Chris. Any questions from the table?
So how many people actually maintain these things besides the ones that come forward when they need it?
Say that again?
How many people actually keep something on file for this maintenance?
Out of the percentage of lots down there, you think?
Out of the lots down there, there are probably half of them that don't. Not because they just think that their permit is still active. I keep getting this, as I explained earlier in the evening, that they play, I don't want to comment on that, but they're very not knowledgeable of the laws that are regulated on their property, and they should be. So I've been trying to voice them to be not so
Lax.
ignorant in respect to the regulations and try to help us to work with them. So, as I mentioned, there are 18 beachfront lot owners right now that need beach nourishment, and they don't have permits. As far as the let side of the road, I'd probably say half of the ones on the let side have permits and some don't, so, which isn't necessarily the side that really
They don't
does need
do
it,
much over
but-
there, right? They
But what
don't-
I'm trying to express to the commission tonight, everybody is going to be getting an order of conditions, whether, that's how it's gonna be, because you put a trailer on the lot, that requires a permit, end of story. Since it's a barrier beach, everybody should have an order of conditions. That way, we can alleviate the person saying, well, what about John, what about the guy in the house? Okay, so that is my goal, to have
So of the
everyone.
18, there's some on the let side as well? This is everybody?
Right now, for what we give the allowancing for this extension till June 1st is for the ocean
On the
side.
ocean side, sorry.
Because they're the ones that drastically got hammered. The other sides of the roads have plenty of ability to put lots or their trailers on without doing anything, so. But my goal is to notify everybody as the summer goes along that you are required now to have permits. And the selectmen kind of dropped that in our lap with this
Good.
whole agreement signing, which they had the right to do. We do regulate what happens on that beach, not the selectmen.
Right. Do we have a motion to approve the 3-year extension?
So moved.
Phil, second?
Second.
Tom, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous, legal.
And they're selling like hotcakes if you want to buy one, Tom. You sure?
Well, with global warming, they're not gonna be there in 10 years, right?
Why, the 190 foot of frontage or the length of your property now is only 70 feet? You don't have a problem with that?
I have no problem. I don't own any of them.
So 100 foot of the property is somewhat been claimed by mean Mother Nature.
How much are they asking now?
Up to 230 a
Too
lot,
much.
Really?
Good.
Wow, okay.
228, 208, 215.
Good luck with that.
All right. We have unanticipated business and extension for Hoffman Pelletier, 86 East Beach Road.
So you suggest they buy crypto, is that what you're saying?
I'm not sure I'd pay $230,000 for a lot that's gonna
I got you.
disappear.
All right, the last one we got here is under
You can only use it for 6 months
unanticipated.
too.
This is Hoffman Pelletier, Dave Pelletier being the new owner, taking it over from Hoffman, 86 East Beach Road. This is an extension to file number SC 801849. The report date is March 23rd, 2023. The owner has purchased a parcel from the previous owner whom had an existing order of conditions. The Pelletiers are requesting a 3-year extension to allow beach nourishment and work on the oceanfront lot. Recommendations, Westport Conservation Commission grant a 3-year extension to the order of conditions SC 801849 for the Pelletiers at 86 East Beach Road.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Triple. Kevin?
Triple to triple.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimously owned. Chris, do you have any other
No, it's all-
unanticipated
all in-
business?
No, it's all in your folder, Mr. Chairman. We are done with hearings and continuances and extensions for our agenda this evening.
Bills for paper.
I'm just going back through
No
the ones I
warrants.
have here in a second.
Pretty good though, we're caught up.
Okay. I forgot to send these down before, sorry, my mistake. Okay, we have bills.
Jason usually closes the meeting before he realizes.
Well, I was a couple behind. We have bills and minutes. First bill is, looks like WB Mason in the amount of $37.63. Do we have a motion to pay?
Motion to pay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimously owned. That was Tom and Kevin. Do I just have to sign this, or does everyone sign it down there?
Gray screen.
No, pass them all down. You sign it, pass it down. You might as well have. We're COVID-free now. Before it was just the chairman signing.
Next one is Mr. Capone's mileage for December, January, and February. The total is $510.22. Do you have a motion to pay?
Motion to pay.
Second.
Kevin and Tom, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimously owned. Is this something that we need to go through? I don't know what that is. Okay. Let's see what this is. East Bay Media. An amount of $123. Motion? The ads, yeah. Do we have a motion to pay?
Motion to pay.
Do we have a Second. Second. Tom and Kevin, all in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Is this a separate WB Mason bill that was in there? It wasn't with the other one. Thank you. No. Do we not do anything? Okay. We do have the February 28th, 2023 minutes, and it does not look like we can approve those at this time. There were only myself, Kevin, and Bert, so we don't have 4 to do that one. So we'll have to wait for the next meeting on that. I know you're taking notes there in this wonderful meeting, Chris, but do you have anything else?
No, this letter here, Mr. Chairman, I will enter into the record. This is Carol Brownlee, 77 Mascasatch Road. This is a letter of concern for the cell tower under construction on Drift Road in Mascasatch region. This is a legitimate concern. There's been a high water table this season. The photo is very evident that there is a high water table, and I can't deny that. Measures were taken to correct and pump water away from the wetland. I understand his concerns. If it's groundwater is that present, it's a wetland. We determined this line prior to on an order of resource area delineation, so the delineation is accurate in my eyes, and the work was allowed under the ZBA's proceedings. So I'm pretty much entering this into the record for his concerns, but I can't necessarily change what has been allowed to date, and I think that the contractor, given the circumstances, has done an outstanding job to prevent any erosion or siltation into the wetland adjacent to the project, considering how much water they had to pump during this installation. So that is what, in essence, you're gonna see, like Mr. Petrazik wants to do for his sign. This one is a little more dramatic, but this is a 150-foot cell tower that's proposed in that location.
How deep do they have to go in that, and does that
That went.
compromise
That went
the?
6 by 27.
Oh,
6 foot deep, but it had to go that way.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
that's basically what happened in that
So
one.
it's a huge pad that's.
The soils, that's
Yeah.
what happens
You
there.
can't-
They don't do a soil suitability until they're about ready to install the thing, and then here we go. So they stayed within the area of disturbance. It's just, we've had a very wet season, and if anybody wants to gauge their property, I would look out the window on the way conditions are right now, because we're definitely full to the brim, and that is a terrible site for construction, but
Yep.
that's the way the cookie crumbles. So again,
That's
given the
int-
circumstances, they've done a pretty good job.
It comes down, come across Drift Road or 88, which is
Oh,
the
it
original argument.
certainly will, so we hope that this holds. And again, thank you, Mr. Brownlee, for your comments. I appreciate all neighbors and such addressing. I did speak with Mr. Brownlee in the office, and again, I would encourage other people that have concerns that they can express them to us. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chris. Anything else on the table? Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Bert, second.
Second.
Phil, second. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimously on, adjourned.